Bhakti-sastri, Bhagavad-gita, Tirupam Sagrajatam Sahivana Raghunathan Sachivam Sadavaitam Tavadupam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Shirabha Krishna Padam Sahimadalita Shri Vishakam Namahom Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Swaminiti Namani Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshakarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namini Gautashaya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namaste Yaptakanchana Gaurangi Radhavindavameshwari Vishamanu Sutveti Anamami Hadipi Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namaste Vyasa Vishal Buddhe, Tullarvindaya Tapatnetre, Yena Tvaya Bharata Kaila Purnaha, Prajvadito Naramaya Pradipaka, Prapanna Parijataya, Sutravetrekaparine, Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Geetamritanuhe Namaha. Hare Krishna, welcome everyone once again to Bhakti-sastri and Gita-sastri class. We are going to start the last chapter of Bhagavad-gita today, the 18th chapter, the conclusion of the teachings of Lord Krishna to Arjuna. And this chapter is quite similar to chapter 2, which is also a summary of the entire Bhagavad-gita. That was the introduction, and this is the conclusive summary. So just as in chapter 2, Lord Krishna spoke of all the subject matter, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. In this 18th chapter also, Krishna is going to again put the focus on all these three subjects, and then conclude with the message that Bhakti is the topmost method. Whoever surrenders to Krishna gets complete protection and shelter. It is how this world, this chapter ends. Let's have a quick look back. This chapter of the Bhagavad-gita was this with the three modes nature based on the so three modes make the escape very complex. Can an activity within three modes help us transcend the three modes? No. Only a transcendental activity can help us transcend the three modes. Right? In this final chapter, Lord Krishna gives an overview of the entire Bhagavad-gita. As I said, it's a summary, but a conclusive summary, and stresses that bhakti is the ultimate goal of life. Krishna reviews that beautiful detached work is true renunciation, which brings no reaction. Beautiful detached work is true renunciation, Giving up work is not renunciation, but dutifully performing work in a detached manner is true renunciation. And that brings no reaction. Chapter 16 spoke about scriptural faith and faithlessness. Chapter 17 spoke about non scriptural faith. And 18 is the conclusion. So here it begins with the query of Arjuna, which is, actually again the same topic which is covered in chapter 3, 4, and 5 of Bhagavad-gita. What is superior? Work in devotion or renunciation of work? So Krishna is again going to iterate the concept. Work in devotion. Again, if everything can be included in the renunciation, even renunciation and goodness action. So when Arjuna decided to leave the battlefield, not fight, go and live as a Brahmana, beg for alms. That was also a demonstration of unity. That renunciation, as Arjuna will understand now, not in the mode of goodness. That renunciation was in the mode of ignorance. It's giving up one's duty, isn't it? So Arjuna understands that here now. Everything can be in three modes, including renunciation. My voice is not clear. Is it so? Are you sure the voice is not clear? All right, clear for some. Arjuna uvacha sanyasasya mahabaho tattvamiच्छामि veditum त्यागस्य च ऋषिकेश पृथक्केशी निषूदना. He wants to know the difference between sannyas and tyag. Uh, Arjuna's question is, what is the goal of renunciation and of the renounced order of life? So Krishna will say, I've already explained that to you, Arjuna. Have I not? So Arjuna says, you are Rishikesha, you are controlling my intelligence. Whatever I'm asking, I'm inspired by you to ask me. So Krishna is saying, so you mean to say, I'm giving doubts to you? I'm bringing doubts in your mind? Am I giving birth to doubts in your mind? If yes, then why are you asking me to remove those doubts? So Vishwanath Thakur gives very beautiful commentary in this. He says, Arjuna is saying, you are giving me all these doubts in my mind. And Krishna is saying, why would I give you doubts? And then if I am giving you doubts, why are you asking me to clarify those doubts? So then Arjuna says, you are Keshi Nishodhana. You are the killer of the demon Keshi. So Vishwanath Thakur says, just like the demons are born of Krishna and the demons are killed by Krishna, isn't it? Both Krishna is their source and Krishna is their destroyer. Similarly, Arjuna is saying, my doubts are also inspired by you, and the clarification for killing those doubts will also come from you. Hmm? So I'm asking you that please destroy these doubts. So what is his question? His question is, what is the difference between Tyaga and Sannyas? That's the question. Let's read the translation. Arjuna said, O mighty armed one, I wish to understand the purpose of renunciation, Tyaga, and of the renounced order of life, Sannyas, o killer of the Keshi demon, master of the senses. Let's read the purport. Then we'll go to the explanation part. Actually, the Bhagavad Gita is finished in 17 chapters. This 18th chapter is a supplementary summarization of the topics discussed before. In every chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna stresses that devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate goal of life. This same point is summarized in the 18th chapter as the most confidential knowledge of confidential path of knowledge. In the first six chapters, stress was given to devotional service. Yoginam api sarvesham. Of all yogis or transcendentalists, one who always thinks of me within himself is best. In the next six chapters, pure devotional service and its nature uh, and activity were discussed. In the third six chapters, knowledge, renunciation, that celestial nature, and transcendental nature and devotional service were described. It was concluded that all acts should be performed in conjunction with the Supreme Lord, represented by the words Om Tat Sat, which indicate Vishnu, the Supreme Person. The third part of Bhagavad-gita has shown that devotional service and nothing else is the ultimate purpose of life. This has been established by citing past acharyas and the Brahma Sutra, the Vedanta Sutra. Certain impersonalists consider themselves to have a monopoly on the knowledge of the Vedanta Sutra. But actually, the Vedanta Sutra is meant for understanding devotional service. For the Lord Himself is the composer of Vedanta Sutra, and He is its knower. This that is described in the 15th chapter. In every scripture, every Veda, devotional service is objective. This is explained in Bhagavad-gita. As in the second chapter, synopsis of the whole subject matter was described. In the 18th chapter, also the summary of all instruction is given. The purpose of life is indicated. Uh, purpose of life is indicated to be renunciation and attainment of the transcendental position above the three material modes of nature. Arjuna wants to clarify the two distinct subject matters of Bhagavad Gita, namely renunciation and renounced order of life, sannyasa. Thus, he is asking the meaning of these two words. Two words used in this verse to address the Supreme Lord. Rishikesha and Keshi Nishodhana are significant. Rishikesha is Krishna, the master of all senses, who can always help us attain mental serenity. Arjuna requests him to summarize everything in such a way that he can remain equipoised. Yet he has some doubts, and doubts are always compared to demons. He therefore addresses Krishna as Krishna Keshi Nishodhana. Keshi was the most formidable demon who was killed by the Lord. Now Arjuna is expecting Krishna to kill the demon of Tao. All right. Next verse. So Krishna is going to give answer now. He says, Shri Bhagavan Vacha Kamyanam Karmanam Nyasam Sanyasam Kavayo Viduhu Sarva Karma Palatyagam Rahustyagam Vichakshanaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, the giving up of activities that are based on material desire is what great learned men call the renounced order of life, sannyasa. And giving up the results of all activities is what the wise call renunciation, tyaga. So he is giving the opinion of some learned people. What is that opinion? Sannyas means what? Renunciation of materially motivated activities like karma kanda. That is sannyas. What is tyaga? Renunciation of the fruits of one's activities. That is tyaga. Hmm. And some other people also give other opinions. Give up all fruitive activities, especially those based on karma kanda, which have their main fault of violence towards animals during sacrifice. And then some other people say that we should not abandon the acts of charity, sacrifice, and penance. So these are some opinions that Krishna is going to put forth in front of Arjuna. But Arjuna will then ask Krishna, what is your opinion? So let's read the purport here. Uh, Vishwapati Mukund Prabhu, please read the purport.
Hare Krishna. Please accept my presence. The performance of activities for results has to be given up. This is the instruction of Bhagavad-gita. But activities leading to advanced spiritual knowledge are not to be given up. This will be made clear in the next verses. In the Vedic literature, there are many prescriptions of methods for performing sacrifice for some particular purpose. There are certain sacrifices to perform to attain a good sun or to attain elevation to the higher planets. But sacrifices promoted by desire should be stopped. However, sacrifice for the purification of one's heart or for advancement in the spiritual science should not be given up. Thank you, Prabhu.
त्याज्यं दोषवदित्येके कर्मप्राहुर्मनीषिणः यज्ञदानतपः कर्म न त्याज्यं vichapare. Some learned men declare that all kinds of fruitive activities should be given up as faulty. Yet other sages maintain that acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance should never be abandoned. Ashoka Nisha Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. There are many activities in the Vedic literature which are subjects of contention. For instance, it is said that an animal can be killed in a sacrifice, yet some maintain that animal killing is completely abominable. Although animal killing as a sacrifice is recommended in the Vedic literature, the animal is not considered to be killed. The sacrifice is to give a new life to the animal. Sometimes the animal is given a new animal life after being killed in the sacrifice, and sometimes the animal is promoted immediately to the human form of life. But there are different opinions among the sages. Some say that animal killing should always be avoided, and others say that for a specific sacrifice it is good. All these different opinions on sacrificial activity are now being clarified by the Lord Himself. Hare.
So, what is Krishna's opinion? That Krishna says in 11.4. Nischayam shinu me tatra tyage bharata sattama त्यागो हि पुरुष व्याघ्रः त्रिविधः संप्रकीर्तितः. O best of the Bharata, now hear my judgment about renunciation. O tiger among men, renunciation is declared in the scripture to be of three kinds. So Krishna went to a different topic. He started describing renunciation in three types. However, Arjuna will press upon Krishna to tell, what do you say? Should renunciation be given up? Should sacrifice be given up? Should charity be given up? And then Krishna will say in the next verse, no, it should not be, right? But just before that, he has diverted from that topic to this topic, that renunciation is of three types. Although there are differences of opinion about renunciation, if the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, gives his judgment, it should be taken as final. After all, the Vedas are different laws given by the Lord. Here, the Lord is personally present, and his word should be taken as final. The Lord says that the process of renunciation should be considered in terms of the modes of material nature in which it is performed. Yagya dana tapaha karma na tyajyam karyameva tat yagyo danam tapaschaiva pavanani manishinam. So he says, acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance are not to be given up. They must be performed. Indeed, sacrifice, charity, and penance purify even the great souls. Pavanani, Manishinaha. That great souls also get purified by these acts. What is the necessity of performing these acts continuously? The necessity is that in this material world, every day, by engaging in different activities, we are bound to do some mistakes. We are bound to perform some sin. We are bound to do some, we're bound to, you know, actually do some faults in execution of our duties. And by doing these three things, sacrifice, charity, and penance, we liquidate all that mistakes, all those mistakes, the faults, the discrepancies, the sinful reactions that we may get because of engaging in our duties in a wrong manner. And therefore, it is said that these three acts, they purify even the pure souls. It's like every day dusting your house. You may have cleaned your house today, but tomorrow dust is going to enter again. So you have to do the cleaning on daily basis. Similarly, living in material world means every day we are collecting some contamination. And that contamination can be removed by the acts of charity, sacrifice, and penance. Therefore, these acts should not be given up. Hmm. So Prabhupada explains here now, uh, in not much in detail, but he explains how. Rupanshi Mataji, please read.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. The yogis should perform acts for the advancement of human society. There are many purificatory processes for advancing a human being to spiritual life. The marriage ceremony, for example, is considered to be one of these sacrifices. It is called Vivaha Yagna. Should a sannyasi who is in the renounced order of life and who has given up his family relation encourage the marriage ceremony? The Lord says here that any sacrifice which is meant for human welfare should never be given up. Vivaha Yagna, the marriage ceremony, is meant to regulate the human body so that it may become peaceful for spiritual advancement. For most men, this Vivaha Yagna should be encouraged even by persons in the renounced order of life. Sannyasis should never associate with women, but that does not mean that one who is in the lower stage of life, a young man, should not accept a wife in this marriage ceremony. All prescribed services are meant for achieving the Supreme Lord. Therefore, in the lower stages, they should not be given up. Similarly, charity is for purification of the heart. If charity is given to suitable person, as described previously, it leads one to advanced spiritual life. Hare Krishna.
So the lesson is perform the good acts, purify your heart, and set a good example. Hmm? That's what is supposed to be done. Now we have to do this, the three activities, with a certain attitude, and that Krishna explains in 18.6. Etanyaphi tu karmani sangam tyaktva phalani cha kartavya niti me partha nishchitam matamuttamam. All these activities should be performed without attachment or any expectation of results. They should be performed as a matter of duty. O son of Pritha, that is my final opinion. Hmm. So the same teaching coming again, do these activities as a matter of duty, which means in mode of goodness. Gunagraya Karang Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So, although all sacrifices are purifying, one should not expect any result by such performances. In other words, all sacrifices which are meant for material advancement in life should be given up. But sacrifices that purify one's existence and elevate one to the spiritual plane should not be stopped. Everything that leads to Krishna consciousness must be encouraged. In the Srimad Bhagavatam also it is said that any activity which leads to devotional service to the Lord should be accepted. That is the highest criterion of religion. A devotee of the Lord should accept any kind of work, sacrifice, or charity which will help him in the discharge of devotional service to the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Any questions or comments so far? Before we go to the
May I
next
ask a
topic?
doubt?
Definitely. Yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, can you please tell us how a sannyasi can perform sacrifice, charity, and penance? Like,
How a sannyasi
is
can perform sacrifice, charity.
sacrifice, charity, and penance?
Okay. Uh, why a sannyasi cannot perform penance? Penance means austerity. So that should not be a doubt. Now, charity, why sacrifice? Sannyasi cannot perform charity. In charity, you don't just give wealth. You can also give many other things in charity. Knowledge is also a charity, giving of knowledge. So sannyasi can perform that charity, right? Now, when you talk about sacrifice, so sacrifice doesn't just mean fire sacrifice. Sacrifice means doing a prescribed duty. That is also sacrifice, as given in chapter 3 of Bhagavad-gita, right? Duties prescribed in the Vedas are yajna. So if a sannyasi performs his duties as per the Vedas, given in the Vedas, then everything that sannyasi does is a sacrifice. Yajna. So a sannyasi can do all three. And if a sannyasi has money, in that way also then sannyasi can give charity. I mean, like if you're a brahmana and you're getting some Lakshmi, if you have extra, you give it to someone else. That in charity. That is also possible.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Any other question? Next section, verses 7 to 12, they talk about renunciation of different types, just like there's renunciation, just like there are other things in three modes, it can also be renunciation discussed in three modes. So when there's renunciation in ignorance, this renunciation is caused due to illusion or ignorance. Fine. So in that case, what does one give up? In case of renunciation done out of ignorance, what does one give up?
Spiritual activity, Prabhu.
Okay, spiritual activity, yes. Or in broad sense, we can say even one's prescribed duty, whatever one is supposed to do, that one gives up in ignorance, in illusion. So, and in passion, what does one give up? That's due to fear of bodily discomfort or losing one's sense gratification,
Same
or
thing.
because signature is troublesome. Same thing, one gives up one's prescribed duty. Correct. And in mode of goodness, what does one give up?
Results.
The results of one's actions. And this is done out of knowledge. So this is something very important to understand. Some people, they have this flair of being renounced because they give up what they're supposed to do. That is not renunciation. Renunciation means to give up the fruits of one's actions. not the actions themselves. That renunciation is a mode of ignorance or passion. Isn't it? In mode of goodness, the renunciation is to give up to the fruits of unaction. That's important. And that's because of knowledge. So in ignorance, they give up duty. In passion, also they give up duty. In goodness, they give up results. नियतस्तु संन्यासः कर्मणो न उपपद्यते मोहातस्य परित्यागस्तामसः परिकीर्तितः. Prescribed duties should never be renounced. If one gives up his prescribed duties because of illusion, such renunciation is said to be in the mode of ignorance.
Hare Krishna. Work for material satisfaction must be given up, but activities which promote one to spiritual activity, like cooking for the Supreme Lord and offering the food to the Lord and then accepting the food, are recommended. It is said that a person in the renounced order of life should not cook for himself. Cooking for oneself is prohibited, but cooking for the Supreme Lord is not prohibited. Similarly, a sannyasi may perform a marriage ceremony to help his disciple in the advancement of Krishna consciousness. If one renounces such activities, it is to be understood that he is acting in the mode of darkness. Hare Krishna.
Yes. दुःखम् इत्येव यत् कर्म कायक्लेशभयात् त्यजेत् स कृत्वा राजसं त्यागं नैव त्यागफलं लभेत्. Anyone who gives up prescribed duties as troublesome or out of fear of falling, it's said to have renounced it, which actually never leads to elevation.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. One who is in Krishna consciousness should not give up earning money out of fear that he is performing fruitive activities. If by working one can engage his money in Krishna consciousness, or if by rising early in the morning one can advance his transcendental Krishna consciousness, one should not desist out of fear or because such activities are considered troublesome. Such renunciation is in the mode of passion. The result of passionate work is always miserable. If a person renounces work in that spirit, he never gets the result of renunciation. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so can you please give some examples other than those mentioned in the purports to 18.7 and 8 of renunciation mode of passion and ignorance? Some examples.
Shaubhari Muni.
How?
He went underwater and then when he saw two fishes, he again wanted to come back to married life.
That is what renunciation is what.
In passion, renunciation in the mode of passion.
How do you know that Bhagavad gave whatever he was supposed to do because of passion? It's just that Saubhari gave up and came back. So that means initially what he did was because of passion.
Prabhuji,
Bharat Maharaj,
My Bharat Maharaj.
you also went forest for renunciation and
Okay. Rather than giving examples of personality, You give examples of how we can renounce to neighbor.
Prabhuji, for ignorance, can we say that when we don't look after our parents in their old age, so we can give that example? Not, giving up service towards our parents.
Oh, that's okay. That is, yes, you can say renunciation. This is a duty which a child has. And if that duty is not being done, then you are renouncing that duty in passion and ignorance. Okay. What else? What other example?
Hare Krishna.
Same manner,
Sorry?
same manner, a person renouncing his family for his not able to give them comfortable life.
Maintain them.
Yes.
Okay. And
Prabhuji, giving up the process of Krishna consciousness because of lack of knowledge of scriptures or something like that.
yeah, giving up Krishna consciousness because it's too difficult to get up early in the morning. It's difficult to chant 16 rounds. It's difficult to do all those things which a devotee is supposed to do. So that is again, you have renounced, but you have renounced out of ignorance. Give up. Okay, very good. Yes, Vrindarana Mata says, when parents are working very hard and they neglect their children, that is also wrong type of renunciation.
Some people do renunciation in terms of doing fasting on Tuesday or Wednesday like that, but they don't really follow scriptural way of fasting. And
So that is austerity.
Okay.
We discussed that, austerity. Right, renunciation, giving up.
Probably students giving up studies due to
हरे
fear of
कृष्णा अरे वो
exams.
उन्होंने ना क्या करा अपना ईमेल अपने एजेंट से करवाया
Students, sorry, Nagarajan Prabhu.
Probably students giving up studies because of fear, because of exams.
Students giving up studies. Okay. Giving up studies. Anything which is a duty for a person to do, and that person gives up. As renunciation, mode of ignorance, oppression.
Prabhuji, few people try to renounce based on a feel of heat just by listening to certain good commentaries. They think of renunciation, but then later on they probably repent on it.
Yeah. Fine. That's immature renunciation or premature renunciation. Correct.
Prabhu, Hare Krishna, if someone gets married and then after that they will go and pilgrimage and not come back to house for maybe 2 years, 3 years, thinking they are doing some spiritual activity, that comes under what if somebody thinks that is renunciation, it is mode of passion or ignorance.
Yes.
Some people suddenly they've become more spiritual and they will just leave their responsibility of family life.
Correct. It is true. So such renunciation is wrong, condemned. It's in passion and ignorance. It is not done out of knowledge. So many such examples can be there, practical examples that we see, and we can also fall victim to such mentality or attitude. To be renounced, but just because of ignorance or passion, but not out of knowledge. A dutiful renunciation should be there. Which means what? If I am renounced, but I'm still working very hard for Krishna's pleasure, then it's okay. But if I renounce just because I want some comfortable life, I can be lazy, I can be irresponsible, I can be non-accountable, I can be anxiety free or stress free. That's all. I want some peaceful life. And that is not really renunciation mode of goodness. Renunciation mode of goodness means to being beautiful in one's action, in all the roles and responsibility that one faced. That is renunciation, true renunciation. And therefore, you see, it's very interesting to understand, to comprehend that how can conditioned souls like us actually show true renunciation? We cannot. Our renunciation will not be influenced by more passion and ignorance. That's right. Because this is influenced by more passion and ignorance. If we are suddenly showing renunciation, that is also influenced by more passion. It's not born of true knowledge. Therefore, it's not maybe sometimes you see that they will get married and then they will give up that and they became now not that. That is not true renunciation. Just
Hare
momentary.
Krishna Prabhuji, your voice is breaking up, Prabhuji. It's distorted. I don't know about the others.
Yes, Prabhuji, there is a little bit of a disturbance in the voice today.
Maybe internet issue. But then my
Yeah.
video is clear, no?
Yes, video is clear, Prabhuji.
And how come the audio is not clear? How is it now?
Prabhuji, the voice is coming, but there's no clarity. It's like a muffled up voice.
We change the mic now. How's the voice now?
Oh, much better, much better.
Much better. Okay. Now?
Yes, Prabhuji, for me it's good.
Yes.
Good? Okay.
It is good,
Better.
Prabhuji. It is
Yes,
good.
Prabhuji.
Okay. So, think about this now. If anyhow we perform these three acts, sacrifice, charity, or austerity, will they purify the heart?
Yes, Prabhuji.
To a certain extent.
Even if it is done in ignorance and passion?
Ignorance will not improve. Passion and goodness, okay. Purify the heart. Passion also not.
So if someone is in ignorance and passion, that person should not at all do these activities.
Prabhuji, they will purify, but to the degree will vary.
Actually, they will not purify. When these activities are done in passion and ignorance, they only give you some pious credit to perform more sense gratification. But they don't purify the heart. Material desires don't get removed. But when they are done in goodness, then they become purificatory process. Are sannyas and tyag the same?
Prabhuji, the purpose is the same.
Purpose is the same, so are they the same?
The path may be different, but the goal is the same.
In Tyaga, the results are renounced. In Sannyasa, the activity is renounced.
But what does Krishna say? They are the same or not?
Krishna, it
Yes,
is
Prabhuji.
written,
They are the same.
Prabhupada's purport, it is written that both may be classified as one word renunciation, sannyasa and tyaga.
As per Krishna's explanation, it is the same because the purpose is the same. When something has the same purpose, then that activity is also the same in one sense. So they are the same. So if someone is living the life of a householder, but is performing tyaga, then that person is also in one sense sannyasi. Isn't it? It's the same. It's the same. Just externally, there are differences. Next verse, 18.9. Charyamityeva yat karma niyatam kriyate arjuna pangam tyakta phalam chaiva satyagaha satviko mataha. O Arjuna, when one performs his prescribed duty only because it ought to be done and renounces all material association and all attachment to the fruit, his renunciation is said to be in the mode of goodness. Right? So let's see Mata should be sweet.
Hare Krishna Pranam Prabhu. Purport: prescribed duties must be performed with this mentality. One should act without attachment for the result. He should be disassociated from the modes of work. A man working in Krishna consciousness in a factory does not associate himself with the work of the factory, nor with the workers of the factory. He simply works for Krishna. And when he gives up the result for Krishna, he is acting transcendentally. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Next verse. Na dveshti akushalam karma kushale manusachate tyagi sattva samadhishto medhavi chinna samshayah. The intelligent renouncer situated in the mode of goodness, neither hateful nor of inauspicious work, nor attached to auspicious work, has no doubts about work. A person in Krishna consciousness or in the mode of goodness does not hate anyone or anything which troubles his body. He does work in the proper place and at the proper time, without fearing the troublesome effects of his duty. Such a person situated in transcendence should be understood to be most intelligent and beyond all doubts in his activities. That's the symptom of proper renunciation. Right? A person in mode of goodness is someone who is ready to perform the duty without having fear of what's in the future, whether pain or pleasure. Right? That's the point. So that person is sticking to the duty without having fear of future. Next verse. Nahi deha bhita shakyam tyaktum karmani asheshataha yastu karma palatyagi satyagi tyabhidiyate. It is indeed impossible for an embodied living being to give up all activities. But he who renounces the fruits of action is called one who has truly renounced.
Prabhuji, in Shloka 10, it is used wise renunciation, and in 11, it is used true renunciation. Is there any difference? Wise and true both are the same.
Same.
Thank you.
Perfect. Devesh Prabhu, please read.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanavad. It is said in Bhagavad-gita that one can never give up work at any time. Therefore, he who works for Krishna and does not enjoy the fruitive results, who offers everything to Krishna, is actually a renouncer. There are many members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness who work very hard in their office or in the factory or some other place. And whatever they earn, they give to the society. Such highly elevated souls are actually sannyasis and are situated in the renounced order of life. It is clearly outlined here how to renounce the fruits of work and for what purpose fruits should be renounced. Hare Krishna Bhakti. Thank you.
Anishtam ishtam ishram cham trividam karmanah phalam Bhavati atyaginam presya na prasanyasinam pashet. For one who is not renounced, the threefold fruits of action, desirable, undesirable, and mixed, accrue after death. But those who are in the renounced order of life have no such result to suffer or enjoy. The person in Krishna consciousness, acting in knowledge of the relationship with Krishna, is always liberated. Therefore, he does not have to enjoy or suffer the results of his life after death. So, this is a summary of the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad-gita. The verses 1 to 12 of chapter 18 summarize the Karma Yoga section, the first 6 chapters. And in the summary, the message is basically this. The superior method of becoming free from the reactions to work is Nishkama Karma, renouncing the fruits of work, not the work itself. Okay? So this is how Krishna has summarized the first 6 chapters in only 12 verses, given the gist to Arjuna. That you renounce, but not in passion or ignorance, you renounce in goodness. Right? Any questions so far? Before we go to the next section, Jnana Yoga. Prabhu said, Deenavala Prabhu, if one gives up his duties due to disability, like example, getting involved in an accident, then how do you clarify that as a form of renunciation? That's not renunciation. If you are disabled, how can you then engage in duties which you are supposed to physically? That's not renunciation. That is just a situation, right? It's an emergency situation. So for some time you are not physically able to do what you're supposed to do. That is not renunciation. You are not purposefully, deliberately giving up your duty. That's an accident, and because of that mishap, you are not able to perform your duty. That's okay. Any other question? Okay, so we'll take a 5-minute break before we come back to the next one. Here also, Krishna is going to repeat the same subject, which is Nishkama Karma Yoga, through Jnana. So he talks about the factors of work or factors of action. It's in more detail than what he has already explained in previous chapters about the doer. 3 types of doers are there. But here now he talks about 5 factors of action. What is this verse? 13. Panchaitani mahabaho karanani nibodhame sankhye kritanti proktani siddhaye sarva karmanam. O mighty armed Arjuna, according to the Vedanta, there are 5 causes for the accomplishment of all action. Now learn of these from me. A question may be raised that since any activity performed must have some reaction, how is it that the person in Krishna consciousness does not suffer or enjoy the reactions of work? The Lord is citing Vedanta philosophy to show how this is possible. He says that there are 5 causes for all activities. And for success in all activity, one should consider these 5 causes. Sankhya means the stock of knowledge. And Vedanta is the final stock of knowledge accepted by all leading acharyas. Even Shankara accepts Vedanta Sutra as such. Therefore, such authority should be consulted. The ultimate control is invested in the Supersoul. As it is stated in the Bhagavad-gita, Sarvasya chaham hriti sannivishtaha. He is engaging everyone in certain activities by reminding him of his past actions. And Krishna conscious acts done under his direction from within give no reaction, either in this life or in the life after death. So these are the 5 factors which Krishna is going to talk about. Any action can be first of all classified as right or wrong. Then further can be classified as the action done by the body, or the action done by the mind, or the action done by the speech. And all those actions are having 5 factors. In Sanskrit, they are known as Adhishtanam, Karta, Saranam, Cheshta, and Daiva. Why is Krishna giving this knowledge again to Arjuna? To convince Arjuna that we are not the only doers, as he also explains 3.27. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha ahankar vimudatma kartaham iti minyate. So if I ask you here, out of these 5, which all factors are related to Prakriti, what will be the answer?
Barring super soul.
Sorry?
All except the super soul.
Barring super soul and Karta also, because Karta is soul. So 3 are in Prakriti, and super soul and soul, that is Karta, they are beyond Prakriti.
Yeah.
Yes, so we know there are 3 doers. One is Jiva, the other is Prakriti, and the third is Super Soul. So from here, you remove the Super Soul, Daiva, and you remove the Karta, the doer. Then 3 things are left. Place of action, Karanam, instruments of action, effort, Cheshta. So all these 3, they belong to Prakriti, for material nature. So in this way, any action is performed. Right? I give this very simple example to explain. Like if you want to cook or prepare gulab jamuns, then you need a place, a kitchen. So without a kitchen, how can you prepare gulab jamuns? You need some place, adhishtanam. You need a place for action. The kshetra has to be there. Then you need instruments of action. You need the cooking pot, the ingredients which are required, isn't it? All that. That is not available, you can make the luncheons. And even if everything is available, the person who is going to prepare gulab jamuns is also available. That person has to certainly put some effort, cheshta. Without that also, the work will not happen, isn't it? And finally, the super soul should sanction. If the super soul does not sanction, you can try very hard and still not prepare any gulab jamuns. So Krishna gives up this knowledge here to make it very clear to Arjuna that there are many factors involved in an action. However, the super soul is the main factor, and therefore one should not be proud or consider himself or herself the doer alone. Okay. Let's look at verse number 14. Adhishtanam tatha karta karanam cha prithak pritham vividascha prithak cheshta daivam chaivat panchamam. The place of action, the body, the performer, the various senses, the many different kinds of endeavor. And ultimately the super soul, these are the 5 factors of action. Yes, Rajvasini Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. The word Adhishtanam refers to the body. The soul within the body is acting to bring about the results of activity and is therefore known as Karta, the doer. That the soul is the knower and the doer is stated in the Shruti. Isha hi drashta srashta. Prashna Upanishad 4.9. It is also confirmed in the Vedanta Sutra by the verses Janota Eva 2.3.18 and Karta Srishtartha Vartavad 2.3.33. The instruments of action are the senses and by the senses, the soul acts in various ways. For each and every action, there is a different endeavor. But all one's activities depend on the will of the super soul who is seated within the heart as a friend. The Supreme Lord is the super cause. Under these circumstances, he who is acting in Krishna consciousness under the direction of the super soul situated within the heart is naturally not bound by any activity. Those in complete Krishna consciousness are not ultimately responsible for their actions. Everything is dependent on the supreme will, the super soul, the supreme personality of God. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Prabhu.
All clear? Next verse. Shariravan manobhiryat karma tarabhate naraha न्यायं वा विपरीतां va panchaite tasya hetavaha. Whatever right or wrong action a man performs by body, mind, or speech is caused by these five factors. The words right and wrong are very significant in this verse. Right work is work done in terms of the prescribed directions in the scriptures, and wrong work is work against the principles of the scripture and notions. So whatever is done requires these five factors for its complete performance. तत्रैवं सति कर्तारम् आत्मानं केवलं तु यः पश्यति अकृतबुद्धित्वान् न स पश्यति दुर्मतिः. Therefore, one who thinks himself the only doer, not considering the other five factors, is certainly not very intelligent and cannot see things as they are. Hello, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu Dandvat. A foolish person cannot understand that the super soul is sitting as a friend within and conducting his actions. Although the material causes are the place, the worker, and the endeavor, and the senses, the final cause is the supreme, the personality of Godhead. Therefore, one should see not only the four material causes, but the supreme efficient cause as well. One who does not see the supreme thinks himself to be the doer. Hare Krishna.
यस्य नाहङ्कृतो भावो बुद्धिर्यस्य न लिप्यते अथवापि स इमान् लोकान् न हन्ति न निबध्यते. One who is not motivated by false ego, whose intelligence is not entangled, though he kills men in this world, does not kill, nor is he bound by his actions. Shyamala Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. In this verse, the Lord informs Arjuna that the desire not to fight arises from false ego. Arjuna thought himself to be the doer of action, but he did not consider the supreme sanction within and without. If one does not know that a super sanction is there, why should he act? But one who knows the instruments of work, himself as the worker, and the Supreme Lord as the Supreme Sanctioner, is perfect in doing everything. Such a person is never in illusion. Personal activity and responsibility arise from false ego and godlessness, or a lack of Krishna consciousness. Anyone who is acting in Krishna consciousness under the direction of the super soul or the supreme personality of Godhead, even though killing does not kill, nor is he ever affected by the reaction of such killing. When a soldier kills under the command of a superior officer, he is not subject to be judged. But if a soldier kills on his own personal account, then he is certainly judged by a court of law. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. ज्ञानं ज्ञेयं परिज्ञाता त्रिविधा कर्म चोदना करणं कर्म कर्तेति Trividaha karma sangraha. Knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower are the three factors that motivate action. The senses, the verb, and the doer are the three constituents of action. Karma chodana means to inspire. So what inspires work? Knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower. They are the motivating factors. The senses, the verb, and the doer are the parts of the action. So Prabhupada explains in the purpose. Now this all knowledge which you are getting here in these verses in Bhagavad-gita, they are basically coming from Vedanta Sutra. Very technical analysis of the subject, of what is work. Right? We'll read the purport and then have some explanation. Swati Mataji.
Hare Krishna. There are three kinds of impetus for daily work: knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower. The instruments of work, the work itself, and the worker are called the constituents of work. Any work done by any human being has these elements. Before one acts, there is some impetus, which is called inspiration. Any solution arrived at before work is actualized, is a subtle form of work. Then work takes the form of action. First, one has to undergo the physiological processes of thinking, feeling, and willing, and that is called impetus. The inspiration to work is the same if it comes from the scripture or from the instructions of the spiritual master. When the inspiration is there and the worker is there, that actually activity takes place by the help of the senses, including the mind, which is the center of all the senses. The sum total of all the constitution of an activity are called the accumulation of work. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So now do you understand this? How these three are the factors motivating action? The knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower. Can someone explain how these three are the motivating factors? The knower, the knowledge, and the object.
When an activity is performed, there is a knower. He will know, then he should know the goal also, object of knowledge. Then he should have the knowledge of the process also. So these are the three motivators, one who knows the goal and the knowledge of doing the things also. And constituents are karma.
Give an example now. Explain the same thing with an example. What you said now, just explain with an example also.
That we can give an example of Bhakti-sastri course also. We know what is the goal of Bhakti-sastri. If we do, then means to have the scriptural knowledge, and knowledge, jnanam, is that what is the process. We are attending the classes, this is the process, and knower is parigyata, who is doing the things, and constituents also.
How does that inspire one to do it? If I don't know the end result, the object of knowledge, or the object of work, why will I do any work anyway?
Object of work is there. When we do bhakti, we know we are going trying.
Correct. So I need the knowledge of the end result. That is definitely an inspiring factor. Correct. Then, like again, go back to the example of making gulab jamuns. If you don't know what a gulab jamun is, you're not interested in getting the end result of a gulab jamun. Will you be inspired to prepare gulab jamuns? No. So the object of work has to be there. You are very much attracted to eating gulab jamun, but you don't know how to make a gulab jamun. Can you make gulab jamun? No. So again, the inspiration will come if you know what is gulab jamun, how to make it. You may know how to make gulab jamun. You have eaten gulab jamun also, but you are not feeling like eating gulab jamun. So will you make? So then you yourself should also be inspired to make gulab jamuns, right? So there has to be a knower, there has to be knowledge, and there has to be object of knowledge. Three things that inspire, isn't it? So again, you know the goal of bhakti, so that inspires you to do bhakti. But then you should also know what is bhakti. That will also inspire you to do bhakti. But even if you know the goal of bhakti and you know what is bhakti, still if you are not enthusiastic about doing bhakti, will you do bhakti? No, again. So that personal enthusiasm also has to be there. Isn't it? So three things: the knower, the object of knowledge, and the goal of knowledge. These three things, the knowledge, they are the motivating factors to do anything. Right?
Probably one clarification. In motivation factors, knower, bhagavadgita, that is living entity. And
that is living entity. Yeah.
And constituents also, there is one karta, doer. That is also living entity. So
correct.
Living entity is simultaneously a motivator as well as a constituent.
Yes. Okay. You are motivator as well as the doer. Right? The object of knowledge is the result. Like in this case, gulab jamun is the object of knowledge. The end result. That or the taste of eating gulab jamuns. The taste you get, that's the end result. So that is the object of knowledge. In the motivator, that is understood. In constituent, there are three. The worker, which is yourself. Instruments are what? The body, the hand, hands. Isn't it? That's the instrument. And work. The whole process of making gulab jamuns is the work. That is a part of the work, isn't it?
The karma is the physical work we are doing, not that our karma which we take in this process.
Karma here means the physical
it is the actual
work
physical work we are doing. Thank you.
Yes. The act of working, isn't it? And karta is the one who is doing the work. And karanam means the senses. So these are the three parts of constituents of any work. Fine.
One more clarification. Can I ask? In the purport last line, the sum total of all the constituents of an activity are called the accumulation of work. How do we understand it?
When the inspiration is there and the worker is there, then actual activity takes place by the help of the senses. The sum total of all the constituents of an activity. So these are all the constituents of an activity, which we are discussing here. So then when all that is put together, there is accumulation of work, which means the work is performed. The work is done.
Can we take it as accumulation of our karmas? No, it is different.
No, why it will be accumulation of karma? If you do everything in a nishkam spirit, then
I've not still understood. Just explain my small purpose.
It is similar. It is just you change the words to, instead of accumulation of work, to say is called the completion of work or performance of work.
Okay. When the constituents work is completed, it is called accumulation of work. Means work is successfully done. Work is successfully done. Okay, thank you. Understood.
Work done. And all these six are involved.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, how do we see this verse in relation to where we are giving up the fruits of action? Because here the inspiration is that we are we have got the result in mind, and then we are inspired to do that piece of work.
So you got the result now after doing the work. Now you offer the result to Krishna.
Yes, but then we are, from the beginning only, we are focused on the results, that this is the result, and then we go ahead and do that work.
There is no problem in focusing on the result. If you don't focus on the result, how will you do anything at all in your life? Isn't it? This is a very big misconception which students of Bhagavad-gita have. What they think is, Nishkama means you don't plan at all. You don't aim for the result. You don't work hard. That is called foolishness. That is ignorance. Like, we all remember chapter 6 of Bhagavad-gita, where Krishna is instructing Arjuna in which system of yoga? Chapter 6. Come on, are you all sleeping? Chapter 6.
Dhyana.
Dhyan yoga.
Dhyana yoga. Ashtanga yoga, right? So there does Arjuna ask this question to Krishna. If one does not get siddhi in this form of yoga or the system of yoga, what will be the result of that person? What will that person get? Does Arjuna ask such a question like that? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. He gives which example? What example does he give? In his question, what example does he give?
Cloud.
Yoga.
Very good, Gopi Manohar Prabhu. Of a riven cloud. From a cloud, a small part of the cloud gets separated. And that cloud cannot even join the original cloud. Also, that cloud cannot shower rain. A riven cloud, isn't it? So Arjuna is saying, if I take to this yoga system, I have to lose my material life because I have to finish my material desires. And so that part is gone. And what if I don't get spiritual success also? That part is also gone. I'll be nowhere. So he's talking about failure in the process. Isn't it? So did Krishna tell Arjuna? Arjuna, just now I taught you chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita, where I said you should work without thinking about the result. No, Krishna did not say that. Krishna said, okay, even if someone fails in this yoga system, that person should not have any regret. Why? Because if that person fails after a long period of time, that person will be born in a family of a Suchinam Shrimatam Yehe, Yoga Prashto Vichayate, the family of a Brahmana or a rich mercantile. Isn't it correct? Isn't it? That's long time or short time?
Long time.
No, that is short time. No? Or long time.
Long time.
And what is short time?
No, this is short time. In long time, he
It
will.
is short time. That person will be born in the family of a yogi or transcendentalist. Long time. In short time, that person will go to heaven and then be born as a Brahmana or a wealthy merchant.
Yes,
Isn't it?
Prabhuji. 41.
So, though Arjuna has gotten the knowledge of working without considering the result, is Arjuna not thinking of success and failure? He is. Isn't it? So, when you are doing work in the spirit of Bhagavad Gita, it's not that you don't aim for the result, or you don't plan for the result, or you don't want the result. You definitely do that. But when you don't get the result, you don't get disappointed. But some foolish people, they think, from today onwards, I will not plan anything. I'll not aim for anything. I'll not work considering the result. If that is the way of working, then how can you achieve anything in life? You can't achieve anything in life practically. Right? So the point is, you do have an aim, you do work in that direction, but if due to the providence desire, you don't get what you aim for, you don't become disappointed and disturbed and don't give up your duty. That is the teaching of Bhagavad. A quality of someone in mode of goodness is that person plans. That person plans. That person thinks about the future. That person has a direction to move ahead in. People who are in Tamoguna and Rajoguna, they are busy either sleeping or enjoying. They don't really plan for the future. They're not interested so much in the result of a person in mode of goodness is. So being in mode of goodness doesn't mean you stop planning or you stop aiming for the result. No, nothing like that. If that is so, then do you think during the Mahabharata war, the Pandavas were not every day in the night meeting and strategizing how will we fight the next day? They were not. If you read Mahabharata, every night they would meet in the camp and strategize. Next day, what will be our plan? How will we fight? So Bhagavad-gita, some people they think, very foolishly that Bhagavad-gita is teaching you to be a loser in life. No, actually, no. Bhagavad-gita is not teaching that to you. And in fact, if we follow the teachings of Bhagavad-gita, we don't lose anything. And even if you lose something, you gain a lot more than what you lose. Right? So you aim for a certain result, you don't get it, you are not losing anything because you've gained a lot more. What did you gain? You gain purification of heart. You gain steadiness of mind, equilibrium of feeling. You gain more sattva guna. Okay, any other question? So this is how actually what we discuss now can be shown in the form of a flow diagram or a flow chart. Key motivators of action and key constituents. Any question, devotees? Yes, please ask. Not, then we still have time left. So we can go to the next section or leave it. We'll do the next section tomorrow. It's not a very long section.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Lalita Prishna Prabhuji.
How do we identify one activity is comes from our own will or the super soul's will? Because sometimes it's very hard for us to identify.
How do I identify whether an activity is inspired by my own self or the super soul?
Yeah.
Any activity that you are doing is in injunction with the teachings of the scriptures, the desire of the spiritual master, and for the benefit of yourself and the other living entities. That is super soul inspired. And anything that you do which is only your own decision, but doesn't really match with the scriptural teaching. Others will also not be pleased with you. Have their own selfish agendas. That is not really sufficient. Fine.
For example, if we decide to do something, but we are not sure, maybe we don't know how to say, even though some guy is over there, but for some details we don't know. Maybe we can, if we cannot know the Super Soul's will, we can just consult our guru or senior devotees. Can just
Yes.
to.
Yes, in that situation, we can clarify. I mean, this is what my mind is thinking. So, can you please help me understand whether this is going to be good for me to do or not? That should be done. Clarification should be asked. Clarification should be done.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much.
Any other question?
Krishna Prabhu. Prabhu, if a person is doing, as if he is doing his service nicely in Krishna consciousness, but he is not doing his prescribed duty properly.
Sorry, your voice is coming.
As if a person is doing his services, devotional service properly in Krishna consciousness, but in his life he is not doing his prescribed duty properly.
That person is not doing, or doing.
Not doing his prescribed duty properly. So how do we see that person?
What do you think? What is your understanding?
For me,
A
it's
person
like,
who cannot do one prescribed duties properly can also not do Krishna consciousness properly. Because if you cannot do one thing properly, you cannot do other things also properly. Right? It's a matter of attitude. I hope you understand. Like for example, a person is working in a company and that person has a certain work record. That person may say, because I don't like this kind of work, that's why my record is bad. Now, when that person is going to apply for a job in another company, having a different kind of job, when that person will be interviewed or evaluated for the new job, that person will also be evaluated for his attitude. Isn't it? So the person is going to say, well, in our company also, you may not always like to do what we ask you to do. So your real nature is visible not only when you like to do something, your real nature is also visible when you are asked to do certain things which you don't like to do. And that makes my attitude. So whatever attitude I have in my material life, towards my material relationships, towards my material duties, towards material things, that's the same attitude I'm bringing to my Krishna consciousness. My Krishna conscious relationships, my Krishna conscious things. So if someone says, I am very good devotee, but I am very irresponsible in my material duties, then you cannot be a good devotee. Because for a devotee, nothing is material. That is a good devotee. Right? For a good devotee, a devotee will do everything nicely. Even material duties will be done properly. Let's take the example of Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. Were they not good devotees, genuine devotees before they met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? They were. But were they not properly executing the job of minister for Nawab Hussain Shah? They were perfectly. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, was he not executing his job as a judge perfectly? He was the best magistrate, the best. So good that British government didn't want to remove him. They told, we can't give you resignation. You should continue to work. Was Prabhupada not a good employee in the Bose laboratory?
Yes.
He was one of the best employees of Dr. Bose. That when he wanted to leave the job, Dr. Bose didn't want to lose him. So he said, you don't want to work as an employee? Start your own business. I'll support you. Right. So that attitude is the same. Just what you are doing is different. But your attitude is the same.
I think we should always be dutiful.
It's so coming to Krishna consciousness for a neophyte, one has to learn to chant, one has to learn to dance, one has to learn to properly dress, one has to learn to behave as a Vaishnava, one has to learn to study the books and all that. But that's a neophyte. A mature devotee is someone who is learning to change his attitude. Right. When we are new to Krishna consciousness, we are just learning on the surface level. Okay, earlier I used to dress in this way, now I have to dress in this way. Earlier I used to eat this, now I have to eat this. Earlier I used to mingle with these people, now I have to mingle with these people. Earlier I used a particular language, now I have to change my language and use another kind of language. Earlier I used to like being in places of Rajagun and Tamagun, now I prefer to be in places of Sattvagun. But that's different. That's not really your internal change. That's just a change on the superficial platform. Internal change is now, let me work on my own.
It's in our attitude.
So that's the thing which we have to work on, and that's the main thing for the real task or the difficult task. Regardless of whether you are anywhere situated in the Krishna consciousness, it's the attitude which is change.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you. Also, Prabhu, in text 17, here Krishna is saying that even though a man kills in this world, does not kill. This is referred to Arjuna, but then if someone like a layman is...
We already discussed this in chapter 2 of Bhagavad-gita. This is not to encourage someone to just keep on doing wrong things. This is for someone who is situated in knowledge of the soul. So this is not to encourage wrong action, criminal action.
Okay, thank you.
Shamala Mataji, do you have a question? You had it. Okay.
Actually, Tyaga is in 3 modes, but Sannyasa is also in 3 modes.
Yeah, both can be in 3 modes. There are sannyasis who are not at all in mode of ignorance. There are sannyasis out there who smoke, who take intoxicants, who eat non-vegetarian food. We are not talking about sannyasis in iskcon or Vaishnava sannyasis, but there are sannyasis who call themselves as sannyasis, but they engage in all these things. Tulasi Mataji, do you have a question?
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhu. I confused myself. In text 14, it mentions the 5 factors, and we said that 3 out of the 5 factors are Prakriti. And then in text 16, it says, therefore, one should not only see the 4 material causes, but the supreme efficient cause as well. So, this 4 material causes, what would they be? I don't understand.
Which purport, Mataji, you're referring to?
Text 16.
Text 16.
Mm-hmm.
So material cause means here material does not mean material in that sense. Spiritual and material. You understand?
Okay.
Here material means those who are directly involved in the action. Right? So this is a technical term which is a translation of particular Sanskrit term.
Mm-hmm.
So here material means the ingredients, you can say. The material cause, the ingredients of a work. So what are the ingredients of a work? The place, the instrument, the endeavor, and the doer.
Okay, so the doer is classified here as part of the material cause, the instrument.
Yeah. Material cause, not instrument, but an ingredient, a part, a constituent. So here material cause doesn't mean, the word material, which is opposite to spiritual. Here the material cause means constituent.
Okay, noted. Thank you, Prabhu.
Fine. So this is technical translation of some Sanskrit words into English. Now you don't have an exact word, so Prabhupada has translated in this way. Efficient cause, material cause, immediate cause, remote cause, and all that. Okay. All right. See you tomorrow. Hare Krishna.